Hey, I'm back again, doing getting started where I left off from Budokai 3, uh, to do Dragon Ball Z Infinite World for the PlayStation 2, which is basically technically maybe Budokai 4 or Budokai 3.5. Feels more like a 3.5 to me. Uh, but of course, there were multiple Budokais, such as the Shin Budokai series that were released before it, uh, 1 or 2 years before it. Yeah. Basically, this game came out in 2008. Uh, this was the last Dragon Ball Z PS2 game to be released. After this, they focused more on the PS3 and 360 next gen consoles and stuff. Uh, it came out a month before Burst Limit, and it's supposed to be the best of the Budokais. I'm not too sure about that. Really not. Uh, but what they meant by that was they're gonna combine everything from the Shin Budokai, the Burst Limit, the original Budokai, and for some reason Tenkaichi, but it's really have nothing to do with it. Uh, well, of course, this is probably a game notorious for being a Budokai 3 clone. The fact that it had not, it didn't have much difference, but it did have some differences, which I'm about to explain. The story mode, the main mode, which is basically Dragon Road. I think that's what it's called. Yeah. Uh, Basically, instead of the whole free roam thing that they had so nicely in Budokai 3, that was removed. Uh, they now have basically a Chibi Goku standing on a Chibi Goku standing on a map, sort of. Yeah, and you walk around these different points in the different sagas, and each saga has its own big map. uh Saiyan Saga has probably the most battles, and like the training really isn't as like interactive as all the other Budokais were. All the other Budokais, basically you were basically being talked to and taught while you were doing these moves. Basically, in this game, they just tell you what to do, and then you just got to do it. They just put you on your own way. Uh, that's something that seemed like it would be in a PSP instead of a PS2. I mean, Dragon Ball Z PS2 games are supposed to be the stuff. Uh, Saiyan Saga has majority of the battles because of the training and all that. Another great thing about this game was probably the mini games. Uh, Mini games mostly consisted of training or walking around. This game also, a great thing that they should have had in Budokai 3, that they had in this game, why I like this game, is the cutscenes. The cutscenes for these games. Uh, Cutscenes such as Raditz comes, the Goku Vegeta fight, the GT, the Blue Saga, all that stuff. It had like some of the memorable moments. It might not have been as accurate, probably because Budokais are Budokais, you know. Budokais have been weird. Like, where is the entire Ginyu Force in these games? Where are the characters that were in the story that you don't play as in these games? But of course, Tenkaichi fixes all that. Uh, like I was saying, the mini games. The first mini game you probably notice after the cutscene is basically Goku walks around a large environment, to find Gohan. But instead of finding him immediately, like in the show you would, you're basically walking around, dashing, jumping a lot, and finding checkpoints. Depending on the difficulty, you would get about 8 checkpoints to find, 12 or 20. Uh, these mini games were utilized a lot in this game. Uh, the walking around element was used for Goku mostly, such as when he's walking in Snake Way, finding Gohan, finding the Dragon Balls, escaping Namek. Uh, yeah, uh, like those are really cool. Like the mini games, people criticize them, but I really liked them. Like they made you feel like you were really taking part in the story. Because the big thing about these fighting games is they focus on gameplay, but they don't focus on the story, which makes it a crappy story. And this could add a little bit to the story. I mean, yeah, and basically it goes from Raditz to GT. It doesn't do it the way you would want it to do it, how the story plays out. Also, this game has 40 characters, 100 transformations. That's pretty cool. Uh, and like, basically, there's not a lot of things that stand out, except for the fact that they do really good at using Shin Budokai elements. Shin Budokai basically doesn't make it so stiff anymore. Shin Budokai also had your own combos, which Burst Limit stole. People think Burst Limit is the best Dragon Ball Z game, but they have to realize everything in Burst Limit, every little thing except for the graphics, were stolen. Those were used already in other games. Basically, Shin Budokai. Also, unlike Budokai 3, this game, the characters have different poses. The graphics are a little bit changed. Auras. Also, you have a fatigue gauge now, because in Budokai 3, for instance, you would be in a transform state, and you have not much energy left. If you get punched, you automatically deform. This game, you could be in your state even with low energy. You just have a fatigue gauge, where if the fatigue gauge is full, you have to rotate the analog stick while you're vulnerable to an attack. A lot of gameplay elements are similar to the Budokai 3 series, well, the Budokai 3 game, but also they took away the Dragon Rush, which pretty much makes the game feel like Shin Budokai, and not much of stuff to do. But they did add an energy grab thing where it has a cutscene where you're doing either an energy barrage or a punching barrage. Also, a great thing about this game is a lot of people have more moves, more transformations, fusions, and some of the ultimates from Burst Limit. Yeah. This game has no tournament mode. Majority of the games nowadays don't. Except for the Rage and Blast series, of course, dude, and that's a good thing. It has more GT characters in it, which is pretty cool. I like that. I like that idea. Just the other regular modes. I mean, in Dragon Mission, it's just a knockout version of the Budokai 3 Fighters Road thing, and they do a terrible job at it. And I think they really could have put a lot more work into it. But I really do like this game. But the main issue with this game is that it has a big difficulty problem. Just like the opponents just pwn you. Even if you're like at normal level, they just pwn you, and you really can't do anything about it. That's something that feels like spam went out online. It's just ridiculous. A great thing, but a very small thing, was probably the opening. It has music from the Japanese artist Hironobu Kageyama, which he's been making music for Dragon Ball Z since it started, and he's a really great artist, and I really like his music. And for the Americans to finally get a Japanese song onto an American version of a game is pretty cool. I really like that idea. And yeah, I would rate this game maybe a 6 or a 7 due to the fact that it lacks all different forms of creativity and imagination that were already put in Budokai 3. And it even has, it has new music. I kind of like that idea, but it's Burst Limit music. And yeah, main things about this game that point out are probably mini games. Not a lot of people like those. Rate, comment, subscribe.